Good evening and thank you for joining the special edition of Need to Know. I'm your host, Helene Bianduti-Hofer. We've been covering the opioid and heroin epidemic throughout the past year here on Need to Know and throughout our varied news programs on WXXI. Our goal has been to raise awareness, share information, and to dig into some of the issues we often don't hear about in media reports or outreach initiatives. Tonight, we bring you one such story. The origin of the opioid epidemic can be traced back to a number of causes, including increased marketing of opioids by pharmaceutical companies and overprescribing by physicians, to name a few. Regardless of how it started, we are now in the middle of a public health crisis, affecting people of all races, cultures, socioeconomic backgrounds, and ages, the last being what we're focusing on tonight. So often we hear about people between the ages of 18 to 25 or 35 years old battling addiction. But the opioid epidemic has almost doubled for Americans over the age of 50. That's according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Bringing this hidden problem into the light is one of the reasons Angela Lana of Irondequoit shared her story with us. Angela says addiction does not discriminate and that those dealing with this struggle are not junkies, as they're often labeled, but someone's child or someone's husband, wife, mother, or father. Take a look.
My name is Angela Lana, and my husband Dave died of an accidental drug overdose on January 12th of this year. I was 18 when I met Dave. He was actually a friend of my brother's, so he used to call the house, and I'd answer the phone, and he'd talk to me, and then he'd ask my brother, "So, you got a sister?" And, my brother would say, "Never mind," but we ended up meeting each other. He loved music, he loved dancing, he loved cooking. He bartended for years, and they'd call him the singing bartender. He actually had a microphone back there and would sing. He was just very talented at everything. He was a union carpenter. He was retired from being a union carpenter, and he did all this for me. He gutted this house and made it brand new. One of the last gifts he gave me was our deck on the pool. On January 12th, he had decided to go to his dad's house and do some work. His dad had called him and asked him to. So he actually went there the night before. And his dad lives in Victor, so he said, I'll just stay. He packed a bag. I'll just stay because instead of driving back and forth, and I can get up early and get this done. And he never came home. He talked to my son around midnight, and my son said he sounded okay. But I guess they had been drinking pretty heavily, him and his dad. And so the coroner said that it was a pure fentanyl and alcohol OD. So they assure me that they don't think that Dave knew what happened. It was fast. He had such a quirky personality that I think that nobody really knew how bad it was. They just didn't realize. They just thought it was him. But I knew, because sometimes the behavior was unacceptable. It was bizarre. And so, you just get tired of dealing with it and you get angry. And we tried several times over the years to get him help. And I think that Dave was at the point where he felt ashamed. He felt bad. He was always apologizing, and he was tired. Forever in Our Hearts grief group, actually, Becky and Paul Baker have SOARS. They're SOARS. They lost their son, Scotty B, to a drug overdose. And so they started this group. My daughter, Samantha, and Becky started Forever in Our Hearts.
we really need to get out and have some fun.
We do.
You know?
I don't know what I would have done without these people, because we know how each other feels. Even though our friends and family mean well, and they say, you know, we're here, you can call us, but people don't really want to hear it, because they don't want to feel sad. They don't know what to say to you, and they're not really there for you. So these people are, and we're a family now. And we know how each other feels, and we will listen to it, and they'll listen to you. So it's really important to be part of this group. The disease does not discriminate. It's in all walks. It's in every age group. It's just more and more. It's everywhere. It's awful. There's somebody's father, somebody's brother, somebody's son. They're human beings, somebody's sister, mother, and they need help.
As you saw in the story of the Lana family, people over the age of 50 in Monroe County are the fastest growing age group for opioid-related deaths, up almost 400% between 2014 and 2017. That being said, why is geriatric addiction so often kept behind closed doors? And what do we need to understand about this problem in an effort to help meet the needs of our friends, family members, and loved ones battling this issue? Joining me in the studio to explain geriatric addiction and how to address it is Paul Kakamas, Vice President for Programs at Lifespan of Greater Rochester, and Ann Olam, Program Manager for the Geriatric Addiction Program at Lifespan of Greater Rochester. For those who don't know, Lifespan is an organization that provides services and supports for older adults and caregivers. And I welcome you both and appreciate you being here. So I want to start with that question of why this has been hidden for so long, especially here when we hear these stats right now, especially for Monroe County in particular. And I'll give the why to you, Ann.
Well, I think geriatric substance misuse has been hidden for many years. In fact, oftentimes people believe that people just stop using and that it's not an issue with older adults. In regards to the opioid crisis, older adults have a lot of pain, chronic pain issues, and so over the years the first line of defense is the opioid prescriptions. Which has led into the misuse of them.
So, Paul, go ahead, yeah, please.
I'd like to add to that, but
Yes.
I think there are multiple factors why there isn't greater attention paid to this, and you touched on them, and Angela, and I want to commend Angela and the Lana family for coming forward and shining a light on this issue, which is often hidden and unrecognized. And one of the reasons is something that Angela said, and that's the shame that surrounds substance abuse, especially among the older generation, and in particular opioid use. But also older adults tend not to be, in some cases, are not as involved in the community as younger people are. You know, they're not in school, they may not be working if they're retired, and if they have a long-standing substance use disorder, they may have been disowned by their family or shunned by their family, or they may have cut off ties with their family in order to hide the substance misuse.
One thing I wanted to talk about, and you both shared stats with me, and NPR reported on this as well, in regards to this issue. In 2009, the American Geriatric Society came out in favor of opioids for older adults with moderate to severe pain. And there's a quote that I'd like to share with you both. Dr. Bruce Farrell, who served on the AGS board, that panel that issued the new guidelines, he said to the New York Times at the time, "You don't see people in this age group stealing a car to get their next dose." And I want to ask both of you, how would you respond to that statement in light of the current situation that we're in?
Would you like to respond to that?
Well, I think that you know, there's a myth out there that older adults do not have substance abuse issues, and we know that that's not true. Doctors are not asking those questions when older adults are going in for their appointments. Oftentimes there's not enough time to explore those issues with an older adult. Other concerns are that oftentimes the substance abuse symptoms mimic more medical issues that are common among older adults. So the thought of them having a substance abuse issue isn't even considered. Excuse me. So I think we really need to take the time to explore things and ask more of the questions with older adults.
You know, they may not be stealing cars, may not be committing theft in order to support a habit or to gain access to the drugs, but they may have more access to opioids because their doctors are prescribing them for chronic pain, for surgeries, you know, for hip replacement or knee replacement, which is much more common, of course, among older adults than younger people. And they have often more, greater access to the drugs, and they may be seeing different doctors who are not talking to each other and prescribing drugs separately, opioids to them separately, or they may be doctor shopping and looking for sources of opioids.
Interesting. And I should point out that the 2009 guidelines about opioids from the American Geriatric Society are no longer in use. I want to make sure that I do say that. I want to transition a bit to Lifespan. And as I mentioned before, you provide resources and services to older adults in our region. Talk to me about Lifespan's geriatric addiction program. What does it do? How does it work? And what ways does it support those who are dealing with an opioid addiction?
Sure, we're a community program. We go out and meet with individuals in their home. So we provide in-home supportive counseling and case management services to individuals 55 and over who wish to make a change or maintain a change in their substance use. We utilize the harm reduction model, so we're not asking people to be abstinent or for their goal to be abstinent. We hope that will be their goal, but we are working with an individual to get to a safe level of use so that they can maintain their health and well-being in their environment of their choice.
Yeah, we are unique in the chemical dependency field here because we go to people in their homes.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, that is huge.
To talk with them and to work with them on reducing their substance use and achieving abstinence if they can tolerate that, if they're ready for that. But we don't ask people to come into the office or come into a clinic or join a recovery group yet. If we can connect them with the traditional services, we do that as soon as the person is ready, as soon as the client is ready. We also have an AA program we sponsor an AA group at Lifespan it's called Boomer AA Group, and they meet every Thursday at noon, and that's a support for people who are also misusing substances.
So I want to know, my colleague Brett spoke with both of you for WXXI Radio. Also, he focused a story on geriatric addiction. And when he talked with you, Ann, he reported that your caseload is growing. So you are the administrator of the geriatric program, and you're also one of 2 geriatric addiction counselors with Lifespan. I hear your caseload is growing, and I know when we talked with you before we started this interview, you said I've got cases and I'll be visiting people in their homes. What does a typical day look like for you with what you do?
Usually I go into the office and check my email, and then I start seeing clients. I probably leave the building about 8:30, 8:45. My first appointment's usually at 9. I'm there for 45 minutes to an hour on the average. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. I probably see four people a day. I end up back at the office to do my notes or any case management things that I need to do for people.
In terms of focusing on opioids with the geriatric addiction program, was this something that was always wrapped into the program, the focus on opioid addiction, or is it something that you found in recent years it's required more support and more services?
It's always been a feature of the program. By far, alcohol is the drug of choice, substance of choice for older people as it is among the general population. But we've always had some clients who are opioid involved, either because they're misusing prescription drugs or not realizing they're misusing prescription drugs and combining them with alcohol. But I think more recently, Ann is telling me that we're seeing an increase in the number of opioid involved clients, including the use of heroin.
I know, Ann, you mentioned that healthcare providers can sometimes miss substance abuse in older adults. So I'd like to ask you both, talk to me about, what are some of the warning signs for older adults? And I'm curious, do those warning signs differ from younger generations, or are they pretty much the same?
So for the older adults, the warning signs are changes in mood, changes in self-care, perhaps changes in appetite. Sometimes we see person having multiple falls or injuries, wanting to go back to the doctor more, looking to get their prescriptions filled earlier than supposed to. Those are all warning signs. Whether that's different from younger population, I would think it's probably pretty much the same.
Yes, it's difficult because some of the signs are the same. But older people, all the signs that Ann mentioned they aren't definitive, because there could be a dozen other reasons why people are falling or getting confused or having other symptoms. But those are some red flags, or losing appetite. Those are some red flags for opioid.
And we encourage people, if they do see those,
I was just going to say, for people watching right now, and the red flags are going off.
Right. Yes, to further investigate, to look into.
How do you do that? Because sometimes that's such a sensitive area, such a sensitive topic.
Asking questions, how are you maintaining your medication, and how is the pain? Do you find yourself taking more medications than prescribed? Just digging down, and always reference it back to their health and well-being. I'm concerned you're sleeping more than you used to. You're not attending the social activities that you like to do. How come? Just asking those questions.
I'm curious as to, we talked about the fact that older adults might experience, arthritis or other issues that would cause chronic pain, and so therefore they're being prescribed some of these medications. Are there other options to treat chronic pain? I'm curious about even things like physical therapy or acupuncture, even cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah. Well, there definitely are. I'm not a medical person, so I can't give you the full rundown, but there are many other options for pain relief, and I know that palliative care specialists and pain specialists are exploring alternatives to prescribing opioids in the first instance, and reserving those for people who don't respond to other types of remedies, such as acupuncture or even medical marijuana. I've been reading some articles about medical marijuana as an alternative in the first instance for pain relief before moving on to opioids, like oxycodone.
We talked about how this is a hidden problem, and for a number of reasons we're not talking about it, whether shame, that kind of a thing, why it's not out there in the public eye more. That being said, what are we not talking about that you think would need to be addressed in relation to this specific issue?
I would say education. I think the medical professionals need to be educated in this area. I think the older adults need to be educated. They need to ask the questions of their doctor, what are the likelihood of becoming addicted to this, and how can I make sure that I don't? Education for caregivers.
Education.
I agree with Ann. Shining light on the problem, such as WXXI is doing during this month, and the other public TV and radio stations are. So thank you very much for helping in that project.
Absolutely. We've got 30 seconds left, and I do want to ask you this. Someone's watching right now, and they're dealing with this issue. What would you tell them to do? They might not have that network of support around them to help them get the help. What would you suggest?
Well, they can call Lifespan, for at least to consult, and possibly for us to accept the case and go out to see their loved one to see what's going on. And they can do that by calling the Geriatric Addiction Program at 244-8400. Again, that's 244-8400.
We have to close for now, but Paul and Ann, I want to thank you both for your time and also for sharing your expertise on this issue. I appreciate it. So to learn more about the Geriatric Addiction Program at Lifespan, go to lifespan-roch.org. Now you want to click on Care Navigation and Planning under the Services tab on their webpage. And you can also call, as you heard Paul say, 585-244-8400 for more information.